Hello, welcome to the October 2010 video edition of the Iowa General Fund Monthly Revenue Memo. My name is Jeff Robinson, Senior Fiscal Analyst for the Iowa Legislative Services Agency, the nonpartisan support agency of the Iowa Legislature. This video covers the month of October 2010 and the first 4 months of fiscal year 2011, July through October. While the month of October did experience a minor $1.4 million increase over October 2009, at $376.5 million, net revenue was below October of 2008, October of 2007, and was essentially equal to the October 2006 level. So this month extends the pattern demonstrated since this past March of net revenue being better than the previous year, but still quite low by historical standards. The October net revenue percentage increase was 0.4%. Two adjustments, one for delayed gaming revenue deposits and one for the calendar impacts of tax due date changes, essentially offset each other this month, making the 0.4% fairly indicative of the actual growth in net revenue for the month. Digging into the revenue line items presents a somewhat better picture, with the main drivers of general fund revenue, namely income tax withholding and sales and use tax, all positive in October. For the fiscal year to date, the headline growth rate for net receipts is positive 2%. However, a legislative change continues to reduce the revenue flow in the early months of fiscal year 2011, as general fund gambling revenue is delayed until later in the fiscal year. Adjusting for this, and also for the negative calendar adjustment related to withholding tax due dates, results in a more accurate net revenue growth rate of 5.2% for the first 4 months. This table presents an adjusted growth rate calculation with the positive $36.3 million shown in the actual numbers, bolstered by the delayed $64.7 million in gambling revenues and reduced $9 million by the withholding due date issue. This results in net revenue growth of $92 million for the first 4 months of the cash fiscal year. Recent months have shown revenue improvements compared to the trend experienced through February and into March of 2010. My next chart provides information covering net receipts by month over the most recent 13 months. Revenue increase months are colored blue, decrease months are red. The chart shows net revenue increases in 5 of the past 8 months, although the October increase was minimal. While recessions depress personal income tax revenue just as they do other taxes, the growth rate in gross personal income tax still tends to remain positive year over year. This was not true in the most recent recession, when Iowa experienced a 12-month period where 8 of those months produced negative growth in personal income tax. This revenue source has now been positive for each of the past 5 months. Gross sales and use tax has also shown improvement over the past 8 months, with 6 of those months providing positive revenue growth. Let's take a look at an important driver, or perhaps a result, of U.S. economic performance, and that's total personal income as measured monthly by the United States Bureau of Economic Analysis. This data series estimates the total personal income of the U.S., and it provides a breakdown of that income by source. The series estimates not only personal income, but also disposable personal income, which is personal income minus personal taxes paid. This table provides the most recent numbers released on U.S. personal income and reflect data for the month of September 2010. The numbers are presented on a seasonally adjusted annual rate basis. That means the numbers are from just 1 month, that month's data have been adjusted for seasonal factors, and then multiplied times 12 to reflect not 1 month, but an entire year's income. The table shows U.S. personal income totaled $12.55 trillion, and when we adjust for $1.16 trillion in personal taxes, disposable personal income equaled $11.38 trillion. Wage and salary income accounts for 56.1% of that amount. The next largest source is dividends and interest at 16.6%, followed by non-wage employment benefits at 14%. Net transfers from the government think unemployment and Social Security here, accounts for 11.5% of disposable income. Government personal taxes remove 9.3% of gross personal income, and that calculates to 10.2% of disposable personal income. Now, if I compare the mix of personal income sources for September of 2010 to the mix for November of 2007, the month just prior to the start of the U.S. recession, we see the changes in disposable income growth over that time by their source. Wage and salary, business and dividend and interest income, all bedrock sources of economic growth, have all declined in the nearly 3 years since the beginning of the last recession. While disposable income has grown $768 billion over those years, the growth is due almost entirely to increases in net government transfers to citizens and large decreases in the level of government personal taxes paid. Summarized at the bottom of the table, wage, salary, business, interest, and dividend income combined fell $386 billion, while net government transactions increased U.S. disposable personal income $880 billion. This situation is not sustainable long term. The potential good news is that the combination of wage, salary, business, interest, and dividend income has begun to grow somewhat. The red line on this chart is read off the axis on the left, and it depicts the combination of those income sources on a 12-month average basis since 1960. The blue line is read off the right axis, and it depicts the drop from the previous peak in this 12-month total. First, we have to notice that with the exception of a couple of months during the early 2000s recession, the combination of these income sources has always grown in the past. That is, each month is a new peak. But for the most recent recession, these income sources peaked in November of 2008 and fell consistently through February of 2010. Since that month, the numbers indicate growth has returned, although the growth rate is much slower than the rate of decline. While growth is of course welcome, it needs to accelerate. To summarize, October 2010 was a mildly positive net revenue month, but still well below historical levels. Cash fiscal year to date, after adjustment, revenue has expanded a healthy 5.2%, and the main drivers of general fund revenue, withholding tax and sales and use tax, are nicely positive. For the U.S. and Iowa economies to enter a more normal recovery phase, growth in sustainable forms of disposable income must accelerate. I appreciate your time and your interest in Iowa General Fund revenue. Goodbye, and I hope you check out the next monthly video memo in early December.